Jack slumped onto the bed, boots still on, arms sprawled like a crash-landed pilot. The soft hum of the ship's engines was the only sound until... "Excuse me, sir, your boots are contaminating the fabric," came the crisp, formal voice of Xylee, his alien maid. Her bioluminescent skin glowed faintly, a soft purple shimmer that indicated mild irritation. Jack groaned. "Xylee, it's my bed. Let me be gross in peace. I am contractually obligated to ensure cleanliness." She stepped closer, holding her ever-present sanitizing wand. Jack, too tired to argue, waved her off, muttering something about union rights for exhausted technicians. Xylee's tentacle-like hair twitched as she worked, muttering something in her native tongue, Velcarin. Jack didn't need a translator to know it was likely an alien version of lazy humans. She was always muttering. "You know, if you keep mumbling, I'm going to start charging you rent," Jack quipped. "I do not mumble," Xylee shot back, glaring at him. "And your upkeep hardly merits additional expenses." "Fine," Jack said with a lopsided grin. "But you better not use this as an excuse to clean my underwear drawer again. Your undergarments require serious sterilization," Xylee replied without missing a beat, her bioluminescent glow deepening in color. Jack chuckled and shifted to lie on his stomach, his face buried in the pillow. "Wake me if the ship explodes, or if you find a way to clean sarcasm out of me." Xylee froze. Her eyes widened. The glow of her skin brightened suddenly, shifting into an almost neon pink. "Sir, I strongly advise you not to sleep in that position," she said quickly, her voice an octave higher than usual. Jack, already drifting into sleep, grunted. "What, this? It's called being comfy." Her tentacle hair twitched erratically. She wrung her hands, glancing from him to the ship's manual on the wall. The section on Valkyrie cultural guidelines flashed in bold letters. "Position alert. Masters in prone posture may trigger Valkyrie bonding instinct. Exercise caution." This was bad. Really bad. Xylee knew the curse wasn't just folklore, it was a biological nightmare. When a Valkyrie's master slept face down, their instincts went haywire. It wasn't her fault, but that wouldn't matter when her body betrayed her in the most humiliating ways imaginable. "Sir, perhaps you should reconsider your position?" she said, her voice shaky. "Xylee," Jack groaned, half asleep. "I am not reconsidering how I nap." Her glow intensified. She stepped back, clutching her cleaning wand like a shield. Maybe it wouldn't happen. Maybe she could control it. She was a professional. But the hum in her chest, the sudden warmth in her skin, and the increasingly erratic glow told her otherwise. "Focus," she whispered to herself. "Think of cleaning protocols. Think of detergent." It wasn't working. She took a cautious step forward, then another. Her movements felt foreign, no longer her own. Valkyrie instincts were taking over. Her cleaning wand fell to the floor with a clatter. Jack stirred slightly. "Xylee, you're pacing. You're making me nervous." "You should be," she blurted, her voice cracking. "I mean, no, you shouldn't be. Everything is under control." But it wasn't. Not even close. Her hands trembled as she reached for him, an internal war raging between her professional pride and the curse-induced compulsion. She wanted to scream, to run, to anything other than this. But instead, her fingers brushed his back. "Xylee," Jack mumbled. "If you're trying to tuck me in, you're doing it wrong." She froze. I was just dusting." "Dusting my back?" "Yes," she squeaked. "Dust particles collect there during prolonged sleep." Jack snorted but didn't open his eyes. "Sure. Dust away." This was escalating. Fast. Xylee's glow intensified, the biological effects of the curse taking hold. She tried to pull away, but her fingers remained stubbornly planted on his back. Her instincts screamed at her to proceed, to complete the bond, oh no. She clenched her jaw. "Stop it, Xylee," she muttered to herself. "You're a professional. You don't let ancient mating instincts ruin your job." But it was no use. Her body wasn't listening. Her hands moved down his back, trembling with a mix of panic and compulsion. Jack lifted his head slightly. Siley, are you giving me a massage? No, she yelped. This is, Valkyrie therapy. Therapy? He cracked one eye open. Since when does therapy involve rubbing someone's? Wait, are you glowing more than usual? Her bioluminescent skin pulsed with embarrassment, a dazzling display of pink and purple hues. No. I mean, yes. It's a side effect of cleaning. Siley, are you malfunctioning? Jack asked, turning his head slightly. She jerked back like she'd been burned, nearly tripping over her own feet. Malfunction? No. Everything is perfectly normal. Please just go back to sleep. Jack raised an eyebrow but too tired to argue, flopped back down. Fine. But if this ends with you vacuuming me, we're having a talk. As soon as his breathing steadied, Siley slumped against the wall, her glow dimming slightly. This was going to be the longest night of her life. Jack woke to an odd sensation. Something warm was pressed against his back, and there was a soft, rhythmic movement. He opened one eye and groggily muttered, Siley, is there a reason you're sitting on me like I'm a massage table? The alien maid froze. Her glowing skin flared bright pink, the pulsing light betraying her panic. Yes, sir. You were positioned incorrectly. I am correcting it. For safety reasons. Safety reasons? Jack tried to turn his head, but her hands pushed him gently but firmly back down. What are you? Oh God, are you vibrating? Why are you vibrating? I'm not vibrating, she snapped, her tentacle-like hair twitching wildly. The truth was far more humiliating than she could admit. The curse had progressed to the second stage, and her body was reacting on its own, flooding with pheromones and uncontrollable instinct. Jack sniffed the air. Wait a minute, why does it smell like lavender in here? Siley's glowing skin flickered brighter as she panicked. That is simply a natural cleansing agent produced by my body under stress. It's harmless. Harmless? Jack squirmed, realizing his back was damp. Are you sweating on me? This is getting weird. It's not sweat, Siley blurted. Her voice cracked as she struggled to maintain her composure. Her instincts screamed at her to press closer, to complete the bond the curse demanded, but she resisted with all her might. Unfortunately, her glowing patterns betrayed every thought, swirling and pulsing in vibrant, unmistakable hues of desire. You're glowing like a damn disco ball, Jack muttered. He managed to roll over, forcing Siley to fall back onto the bed beside him. Her tentacle hair flailed dramatically as she scrambled to sit upright. Seriously, what is going on? And don't tell me it's cleaning, because I don't think cleaning involves straddling someone. Siley clasped her hands in her lap, her glow dimming slightly as she avoided his gaze. Sir, I must confess something. There is an ancient Valkyrie phenomenon that may have been triggered by your sleeping posture. My sleeping posture? Jack stared at her, incredulous. What, did I snore too loud? Did I offend your ancestors by drooling on the pillow? No, it is far more serious than that, she said, her voice trembling. When a Valkyrie master sleeps face down, it can activate certain instincts in our species. It is a curse we have carried for generations. Jack blinked. Wait. You're telling me my nap cursed you? It is not your fault, Siley said quickly. Her glowing skin flared brighter. It is simply an unfortunate biological reaction that compels us to engage in certain activities with our masters. Jack's eyes widened as the realization hit him. Are you saying you're cursed to mate with me because I slept wrong? Siley buried her face in her hands. Yes, she whispered, her voice muffled by embarrassment. Jack sat up, trying to process this. Okay, hold on. You're telling me that because I took a nap you're now, what, irresistibly attracted to me? Not attracted, Siley shot back, her glow intensifying again. Compelled. There is a difference. Yeah, I'm not seeing the difference right now, Jack said, pointing to her glowing patterns and twitching hair. This is a lot to take in. It is mortifying, Xylee admitted, her voice barely audible. I have spent my entire career avoiding such situations, but now I cannot control it. My body acts without my permission. It is the curse. Jack sighed and ran a hand through his messy hair. All right. So what do we do about this? Is there, like, a cure? An antidote? A cold shower? Xylee hesitated. There is one way to break the curse, but it is complicated. Jack groaned. Of course it is. Let me guess, it involves me doing something ridiculous, like wearing a ceremonial toga and singing alien karaoke. Xylee's glow dimmed slightly as she shifted uncomfortably. No, it is not singing. Then what is it? Jack pressed. She bit her lip and looked away. We must engage in certain acts of physical bonding. The curse can only be broken through mutual satisfaction. Jack stared at her for a long moment. You're kidding. I wish I were, she said miserably. But the Valkyrie bonding ritual is the only way to neutralize the curse's effects. If we do not complete it, the symptoms will only worsen. Eventually, I will lose all control, and it could lead to catastrophic consequences. Catastrophic how? Jack asked, narrowing his eyes. The ship's systems may interpret my escalating pheromone production as a biological hazard, Xylee admitted. It could trigger an automated lockdown or even an evacuation protocol. Jack groaned and flopped back onto the bed. Great. So my nap isn't just screwing you over, it's screwing over the whole ship. I am deeply sorry, Xylee said, her voice barely above a whisper. I never intended for this to happen. Jack glanced at her, noticing the genuine distress on her face. Despite the absurdity of the situation, he felt a pang of sympathy. All right, he said, sitting up again. Let's figure this out. But first, you owe me a proper explanation. What exactly does this bonding ritual involve? Xylee's glow flared brighter than ever. I cannot explain in detail. It would be improper. Improper? Jack raised an eyebrow. Xylee, you just told me you're cursed to jump my bones. I think we're past improper. She groaned and buried her face in her hands again. I hate this curse. Yeah, well, I'm not loving it either, Jack muttered. He sighed and rubbed the back of his neck. All right. Let's just take this one step at a time. Maybe we can figure out a way to break the curse without things getting too weird. Xylee peeked at him through her fingers. You would help me? Jack shrugged. Hey, I'm not the kind of guy who lets his maid suffer because of a stupid nap. Besides, it's not like I've got anything better to do. For the first time that night, Xylee smiled, a small, hesitant smile that made her glow soften into a warm, soothing hue. Thank you, she said quietly. I promise I will do everything in my power to resolve this quickly. Yeah, let's hope so, Jack said. Because if this ship goes into lockdown because of your alien instincts, I am never going to live this down. Jack sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing his temples. So, just to be clear, the only way to break this curse is by bonding? Physically? Like really physically? Xylee nodded, her bioluminescent glow flaring with embarrassment. Yes, but it must be mutual. Both participants must willingly complete the ritual for it to work. Jack blinked. You know, when I took this job, I thought the weirdest thing I'd deal with would be the ship's AI glitching out. Now I'm debating whether to save my maid from a curse by bonding. The universe has a sense of humor. I understand how absurd this sounds, Xylee muttered, her voice strained. If there were another way, I would suggest it. But the curse has rules, and my instincts are becoming harder to suppress. Jack frowned, watching as her glowing patterns swirled erratically, betraying her rising distress. Despite the awkwardness of the situation, he couldn't ignore the fact that she looked genuinely miserable. All right, he said finally, exhaling deeply. Let's do it. Let's break this curse. Xylee's eyes widened, and her glowing skin shifted to a soft lavender hue. You mean it? Yeah, Jack said, shrugging. I mean, it's not like I can just let you suffer. Besides, you've been putting up with my mess for weeks. Consider this my way of saying thanks. Xylee hesitated. Very well. I will guide you through the ritual, but I must warn you, it may feel intense. Jack gave her a crooked grin. You say that like this whole night hasn't been intense already. Xylee stepped closer, her bioluminescence flickering nervously. First, we must establish physical proximity. The bond cannot activate from a distance. Jack raised an eyebrow. Physical proximity? You mean like close enough to… Yes, she interrupted quickly, her glowing skin brightening. Closer than this. Got it, Jack said, scooting toward her. How close are we talking? Xylee swallowed hard, her glowing pattern swirling as she placed a tentative hand on his chest. This close. Jack froze, feeling the warmth of her touch radiating through his shirt. Okay, yeah, that's pretty close. She nodded, her glowing patterns pulsing rhythmically. Now, the ritual requires an exchange of energy. My species emits pheromones during the bonding process, which your body must respond to. Jack sniffed the air. Is that what that lavender smell is? Because it's getting pretty strong. Yes, Xylee admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. It will intensify as the ritual progresses. Jack chuckled nervously. Well, at least it smells nice. I was worried it'd be something weird, like fish or motor oil. Xylee tilted her head, confused. Why would it smell like motor oil? Never mind, Jack said quickly. Let's just focus on breaking the curse. She nodded, her glowing patterns shifting into a steady rhythm. Very well. The next step requires contact. Contact? Jack repeated. You mean like? Before he could finish, Xylee leaned in, her glowing patterns casting a soft light between them. Her lips brushed his, and for a moment, the ship seemed to go completely silent. Jack's heart raced as her warmth spread through him, a strange but not unpleasant sensation. When she pulled back, her glowing skin had turned a deep, vibrant purple. The bond is activating, she said softly. We must continue. Jack blinked, his voice caught somewhere between confusion and surprise. That's wow. Okay. What's next? Xylee hesitated, her glowing patterns flickering erratically. The next step is more intimate. Are you certain you wish to proceed? Jack met her gaze, noting the vulnerability in her expression. Yeah, he said, his tone softer now. I'm in this with you. Let's finish it. She exhaled slowly, her glowing pattern steadying. Very well. Lie back, and I will guide you. Jack did as instructed, his pulse quickening as Xylee moved closer. Her touch was gentle but firm, her glowing skin casting a warm light that seemed to envelop them both. As the ritual progressed, the lavender scent grew stronger, filling the air with an almost intoxicating sweetness. Despite the absurdity of the situation, Jack couldn't deny the strange connection forming between them. It wasn't just physical, it was deeper, more profound, as if their very beings were aligning in some inexplicable way. Almost there, Xylee murmured, her voice trembling slightly. The bond is stabilizing. Just a little longer. Jack nodded, his focus entirely on her now. You're doing great, Xylee. Keep going. Her glowing patterns flared brightly, and for a moment, the entire room seemed to shimmer with light. Jack felt a surge of warmth flood through him, followed by a strange sense of relief, as if a weight he hadn't realized he'd been carrying had suddenly lifted. It is done, Xylee said softly, her glowing skin dimming to a soft lavender. She sat back, her breathing unsteady but her expression one of quiet relief. Jack sat up, running a hand through his hair. That's it? The curse is broken? Yes, Xylee replied, nodding. The bond has been completed. The curse will no longer affect me. Jack let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Well, that was something. Xylee smiled faintly, her glowing patterns shifting into a gentle, soothing rhythm. Thank you, Jack. I know this was not easy for you. He chuckled. Hey, you're not the only one who had a weird night. But I'm glad we got through it. She tilted her head, studying him. You truly are unique for a human. Jack grinned. I'll take that as a compliment. Xylie's bioluminescence flickered briefly, a sign of her amusement. It was meant as one. Jack stretched, glancing around the room. So, what happens now? Xylie hesitated. Now we resume our normal duties. The curse is gone, and everything will return to normal. Jack raised an eyebrow. Normal? Xylie, after tonight, I don't think anything's ever going to feel normal again. She laughed softly, her glowing patterns shifting into a warm, gentle hue. Perhaps not. But at least we can face it together. Jack smiled, feeling a strange sense of comfort in her words. Yeah. Together. Jack lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. So that's it. Just like that, the curse is gone? Xylie nodded, standing a few feet away, her glowing patterns now subdued and steady. Yes. The ritual is complete. My instincts have stabilized. He turned to look at her, studying the calm expression on her face. I've gotta say, for something that caused so much chaos, the ending feels anticlimactic. Xylie's tentacle-like hair twitched, her version of a shrug. The curse is not meant to be dramatic. It is merely an ancient biological failsafe. Jack smirked. Failsafe? That's a nice way of saying overly complicated alien mating mechanism. Her skin pulsed with a faint glow of embarrassment. It is not something my people are proud of. Well, I'm just glad it's over, Jack said, stretching. No more glowing, no more lavender clouds, no more awkward explanations. Xylie tilted her head, her glowing skin shifting slightly. Awkward? I thought humans were accustomed to such activities. Jack chuckled. Not like this. Humans don't usually have rituals that involve breaking curses and nearly shutting down an entire spaceship in the process. She blinked, confused. You mean humans do not have complex bonding customs? Oh, we have customs, Jack said, sitting up. But they usually involve dinner, maybe a few drinks, and some terrible dancing. Definitely no bioluminescence or AI interference. Xylie's patterns brightened briefly with amusement. Your customs sound inefficient. Says the maid who needed a whole ritual to break a nap-induced curse. Jack shot back with a grin. She hesitated, her glow flickering softly. Fair point. Jack stood and stretched again, his back popping audibly. All right, now that we're done with the alien bonding extravaganza, can we get back to normal? I mean, assuming the ship's AI doesn't decide to lock us in here again. Xylie's tentacles twitched as she checked a nearby console. The AI systems have stabilized. It appears the bonding activity was successfully registered as a harmless interaction. Harmless? Jack laughed. I'd hate to see what it does if it thinks we're dangerous. Xylie glanced at him, her glowing skin dimming slightly. If the AI had misinterpreted the pheromone levels, it could have triggered a full evacuation protocol. Jack froze. Evacuation? You mean the ship would have ejected us into space? Not quite, Xylie clarified. It would have isolated this section of the ship and sent an emergency beacon to the nearest command station. Great, Jack muttered, rubbing his face. So instead of saving you, I'd have been explaining to the crew why their technician and maid were stuck in a glowing lavender sauna. Xylie's bioluminescence flickered with amusement again. I suppose it is fortunate we avoided that outcome. Jack shook his head, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. You're surprisingly calm about all this. You've been glowing, vibrating, and cursed all night, and now you're acting like it's just another Tuesday. Her expression softened. Valkyrie are taught from a young age to manage our instincts. Even under the influence of the curse, I was able to maintain some level of control. Some level, Jack repeated, raising an eyebrow. You were practically ready to. Do not finish that sentence, Xylie interrupted, her glowing skin turning a faint shade of pink. Jack laughed, holding up his hands in surrender. All right. I'll stop. But seriously, you did a good job keeping it together. If I'd been in your position, I'd have lost my mind. Xylee tilted her head, studying him. You underestimate yourself. Despite your confusion, you've handled the situation with remarkable patience. Patience? Jack smirked. Is that what we're calling it now? Yes, she said simply. And I am grateful. Jack blinked, caught off guard by the sincerity in her voice. Hey, don't get all mushy on me now. I'm not used to this whole gratitude thing. Her glowing pattern shifted to a soft, steady rhythm. You deserve it nonetheless. For a moment, the room fell quiet, the only sound the soft hum of the ship's engines. Jack cleared his throat, breaking the silence. So, what now? Back to work? Or do we pretend this whole night never happened? Xylee hesitated, her glowing patterns flickering faintly. That depends. Do you wish to forget it? Jack glanced at her, his expression thoughtful. Nah, he said finally. I mean, it was weird as hell, but I don't think I'll ever forget the glowing maid who saved me from an ancient curse. Her skin brightened slightly, a faint sign of her amusement. And I will not forget the human who slept in the most inconvenient position possible. Jack grinned. Glad to know I'll go down in Valkyrie history as the guy who ruined nap time. Xylee's pattern shifted into a warm, soothing hue. You may not realize it, but tonight you demonstrated remarkable compassion. Many would have reacted poorly to such a situation. Yeah, well, I guess I'm not many, Jack said with a shrug. Besides, you're not so bad yourself. For a cursed glowing maid, anyway. She tilted her head, her glowing skin dimming slightly. Thank you, Jack. He waved her off. Don't mention it. Just promise me one thing. What is that? Xylee asked. Jack smirked. Next time I take a nap, warn me before I accidentally trigger another ancient curse. Her patterns brightened briefly with amusement. I will do my best. Jack laughed and stretched again, his muscles finally starting to relax. All right, I'm heading to the galley. I need food after all this bonding nonsense. You coming? Xylee hesitated, then nodded. Very well. But I must remind you to sanitize your hands before eating. Jack groaned. Of course you do. Some things never change. As they left the room together, the ship's AI chimed cheerfully. Alert, potential bonding activity detected. Initiating pheromone monitoring. Jack froze. You've got to be kidding me. Xylee sighed. I will adjust the settings later. You better, Jack muttered, shaking his head. Otherwise, this ship's going to think we're in a never-ending alien soap opera. Her glowing patterns flickered softly as they walked, the faintest hint of a smile on her face. Perhaps that would not be so terrible. Jack glanced at her, caught off guard by the comment. Did you just make a joke? Perhaps, she said, her glow steady and warm. He chuckled, shaking his head. You're full of surprises, Xylee. And you, she replied, are uniquely unpredictable. Jack grinned. I'll take that as a compliment. As they reached the galley, the lingering tension from the night finally began to fade. Despite the absurdity of it all, Jack couldn't help but feel a strange sense of comfort. Maybe, just maybe, having a glowing alien maid wasn't so bad after all.